Whether you're working on handstands, back bridges, or even simple animal movements on the ground, these are all positions where we're putting quite a bit of weight on our palms and hands. That's why it's crucial to have strong and healthy wrists. Otherwise, our practice won't be sustainable for a long time. Here are a few of my favorite ways to prepare, warm up, and mobilize the wrists. First, let's come into a tabletop position. Pretty nice and simple. And what I like to do here is imagine you're a cat. If you've ever seen cats, they sometimes like to go onto blankets and soft surfaces and just start to massage things. So what you really want to think of is shifting your weight from hand to hand and really pressing into each palm as you do that. So really pressing the whole palm into the ground, spread your fingers, spread your palms. And once you get a bit of a rhythm, you can actually start to point the fingers in different directions. A little bit to the side, maybe even directly behind us, internally. So what this is doing is that in addition to putting some mild pressure into the wrist, we're also stretching our forearms and wrists in different directions. So feel free to really play with the amount of pressure you're putting into it until you find just a mild feeling of discomfort. And feel free to do this as long as you want. We can actually also start to move our hands in different positions. This could be a really interesting one too. Again, keep that cat image in mind. So softly and intentionally applying pressure. If you want to make this even juicier, you can actually lift your knees off the ground. And this is where we get into a little bit of a almost animal type of movement, which is perfect if that's something you're working towards. But again, it's just a really nice way to prepare the wrists for more pressure. Okay, we can come out of that. Let's go and shake out the wrists here just to release a bit of tension there. Shaking is really nice. Something else I really like is interlacing the hands together. And you can let it be loose as it shakes and goes in circles. So the circles can be very loose and shaky, or they could actually be also more intentional and more clear. Okay, great. So let's continue a little bit more. We're gonna do this thing called knuckle push-ups, which is really perfect for a handstand prep. What we're gonna do is bring our hands on the ground again in this same position. And what's happening here is that I'm gonna press into the base of my fingers, so this first knuckle, so I can lift the heel of the hand off the ground. So I'm gonna press into the base of the fingers on both hands, lift the heel off the ground. The thumb will be a little bit loose, but the other four fingers are pretty connected to the ground. And we're gonna slowly come down. So everyone has different flexion range here through the fingers there, or extension rather. But we're gonna do our best, again, to keep the fingers on the ground as we lift the wrists up. And then slowly come down. The key here is to slowly come down as opposed to slapping our hands back on the ground. So let's go, let's try to do at least 5 to 8. And if this is becoming easy, we can actually shift more weight forward to make this harder. The more weight you shift forward onto the hands, obviously the more pressure it has to deal with. This is a really nice one. It really starts to strengthen the tissue here just beneath the wrist. And I actually encourage you to try that on the wall too. You can stand in an angle on the wall and start to do these. It's a different sensation, but it's also really nice. Next, we're going to bring the back of the hands on the ground. So all we're doing here is to simply shift weight forward onto the hands. So you can go as far forward as you want until there's a mild discomfort in the hand. So you don't want it to be painful, but just a mild discomfort so you can really feel that there's something happening there. And you can, at this point, just pulse in and out of this. I'm going to hold this for about 10 to 15 seconds, and then we're going to let that go. Again, let's shake it out, and we'll do one last thing. The last thing we'll do here is a nice way to find a more active extension through the wrist. Because once we go into a back bend especially, there's a lot of extension happening. So this is a nice way to train that. So from that tabletop position, I'm going to shift my weight forward, forward, forward as my wrist goes into this maximum extension. There's a point where I have to stop. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to hang out here for about 3 to 5 seconds. And then I'm going to gradually shift my weight back, but at the same time, I'm really trying to lift my hands off the ground, lift my fingers and my knuckles off the ground. Obviously, nothing will happen here because there's quite a bit of extension, but as I shift my weight back, as I continue to actively lift, I can start to see my hands lift off the ground. So I'm going to go as far back where I can see a couple of inches there. I'm really actively lifting my hands up here from the knuckles. And then I'm going to go back here and do this at least 2 more rounds. So first, I'm shifting forward as much as possible to my end range, holding that for a few seconds. Nice and easy breath. And then as I shift back, I'm going to actively try to lift up, lift up, lift up, lift up until I'm there, a couple of inches. Hold that for a few more seconds, and then do another round. And then again, come all the way back, lift up, actively hold for a few seconds, and then let it go, and then shake it out again. There's so much more we could do, but at this point, our wrist should be quite prepared for a good amount of putting weight on it.